this is Marie with Petaldriven, and today we're talking about how to choose the right centerpiece for your wedding or event. There's so many ideas out there on the internet, and we need to focus in and find what is right for you, considering your layout and your budget and your taste. So let's get started. Will you have long tables or round tables at your event, or a mix of both? Let's consider some options for long tables. A classic option for long table centerpieces is a garland. The cheapest way to do this is to have only greens, but if you have a little bit bigger of a budget, you can add in some flowers. The more flowers you have, the more expensive it's going to be. If you want to add a little bit of candlelight, votives are a great way to bring in some light without breaking the budget too much. You can just tuck them in on the sides, and that can be a really gorgeous look. A cheaper and easier way to create a garland look is to just place loose greenery down the center of your table. It looks pretty much the same as a garland, it just doesn't look quite as full. But this will save you a lot of time because you don't need to create the garland, which can be quite time consuming, ahead of the wedding day. One thing to look out for if you are planning on having a family style meal is that with garlands and loose greens in the middle of the table, they can kind of get in the way and you won't have room for platters and extra plates in the center of the table. So know how you're planning on serving your food, if it will be plated or if it's going to be family style or a buffet, and just plan your centerpieces accordingly. So a good rule of thumb, if you have a garland or loose things in the middle of the table, just plan on it being buffet or plated dinners. If you do have a family style meal, a good option for long tables is small, low compote arrangements. Maybe you can mix in some bud vases or some candles between, but you'll want to make sure that you've got lots of space between them so that there is the practicality of being able to place the plates down in the middle. If you're DIYing these arrangements, be sure to make them more horizontal and not pop out in the front and the back too much. If they pop out too much, then they're going to reach into people's glasses and on their silverware and plates, and it doesn't make for a very pleasant experience. So you can make it quite short right here and then long on the side so it extends down the table and creates a bigger impact. If you want candles to be a bigger part of your centerpieces, consider bringing in some taper candles. Those are the long, skinny ones. Those are pretty inexpensive and look really elegant and timeless. If you have a bit bigger of a budget, you can use pillar candles, which are nice, thick candles that kind of make a really big impact. They're pretty chunky and take up quite a bit of space on the table. So if you go for those, just be mindful that you still are gonna need some room if you plan on doing a family style meal. Now let's talk round table centerpieces. The very least expensive option that I found for these is to do floating candles in cylinder vases. You could do a little trio of 3, and then tuck loose greenery around the candles. It's simple, but very elegant, especially if you have your reception in the evening time. Then the candles will be twinkling in the water in the vases, and it looks really gorgeous for quite a low budget. Another inexpensive option is to use pampas or something that comes out and takes up quite a bit of space and makes a big impact in your vase. And then just have a few focal flowers like this design. It makes a really big impact with only having a few stems in it and appears to be a complete centerpiece. Another option is lanterns. You can get a lantern, sometimes you can find them at thrift stores or on Facebook Marketplace or on Amazon. There's lots of places you can get them. You can put a pillar candle on the inside and then just place loose greenery, or you can create a little wreath ahead of time if you want, and then just tuck in loose flowers to give a little bit more pop than just the greens. And this can be quite an inexpensive, simple centerpiece that still has a little bit of a fairy tale sweet touch to it. If you have a little bit of a larger budget, you can consider a bigger compote style or like cylinder vase low arrangement that comes out quite wide. You still want to make sure that it's not going to be reaching into people's glassware and whatnot, so still keep it contained for the size of your table. But this can be a really gorgeous, big impact kind of design for your reception. Bud vases are pretty trendy right now, and they can be quite an inexpensive way to put together your centerpieces. I suggest gathering 3 or 5 bud vases in the center of one table. And you don't need too many flowers in each vase. You could just put maybe 1 rose and half a stem of greenery, and do that in each one, maybe with a few different varieties mixed in, and that can make for such a cute little mix and match look. Especially if you have some varying height in vases, this can look really nice. And last but not least, we have elevated arrangements. These are going to be the most costly, but also make the biggest impact in your reception area. They really say elegance and lush and extravaganza. So be sure you have a vase that is at least a few feet tall so that your guests can see each other past it. You don't want a big block of flowers blocking people's view and interrupting conversation. So make sure it's nice and tall, and just be sure that you have the budget for this. Sometimes people like to have, if you have 10 centerpieces, maybe do 4 elevated and 6 low. This can make it a little more affordable while still bringing some height and some elegance into your reception space. What kind of centerpiece do you think is right for you? Let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear what you're planning.